She's calm, cool, and collected. She's calm, cool, and collected. She's calm, cool, and collected. Hi guys. Happy Tuesday. I know I usually go live on Sundays, but I had a lot going on Sunday. So here I am today. Let me know if you guys can't hear me, and if you can hear me, say hi. I'll try my best to interact with the chat a little bit. I'm just really bad at multitasking. I get distracted. But yeah, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're not new here, welcome back. So yeah, to avoid any awkwardness, I'm gonna go ahead and just get right into the message. So today's message is about how God humbles us when we judge others. And I know firsthand because He's humbled me a lot. As open minded as I am, as free spirited and understanding as I am, I'm gonna be real. I also have a very judgmental side when it comes to certain things. And that's something I recently just realized. And God's been checking me a lot on that, which is what inspired this video. That's what inspired this live, this message. Now, here's the thing there's a difference between recognizing when someone or something is wrong versus judging them. When it's judgment, there's a certain tone, there's a certain undertone of condemnation, there's a certain tone of villainizing the person, demonizing the person, looking down on the person, seeing yourself as superior to that person because of whatever mistake they made. Or even, it may not even necessarily be a mistake. It might just be a life choice that you don't agree with. And the thing is, God dislikes when we judge each other because He's the only judge. None of us are perfect. You might have not made the same mistakes as a certain person, but guess what? You've made mistakes. You're not perfect. You're not perfect either. We all sin differently, but we all sin. And a lot of times we forget that because whether we realize it or not, a lot of us, especially even spiritual people, sometimes we can have a tendency to be on a moral high horse without even realizing it. We once we get to a certain point, we subconsciously feel like we have the right to say, we have the right to call people out or hold people accountable. Um, it's something that a lot of Christians say. I'm trying to think, what do Christians always say that really ticks me off? Because I'm like, dude, you're not God. You're not perfect. You have flaws. You have things you need to work on. So you need to worry about yourself. What is the term that a lot of Christians use? Um, Dang, I wish I would have wrote that down. I got my notes here, but I just thought of this because I'm like, anytime I hear a Christian person saying this as a justification for judging somebody, they'll say, "Oh, I'm not judging you. I'm just." It's not holding people accountable. It's a different phrase that I've heard Christians use, but it's something along the lines of holding a person accountable. But is it? I'm trying to think. I don't know. It might have something to do with conviction. It's something that a lot of Christians say to justify them judging others. And I really don't like it. But I can't even judge them because I have done it just in a different way. Mm. Hi, Love Dogs 89. See, I told y'all I'm gonna try to say hi. I'm gonna try to interact with the chat, but I'm gonna just give a heads up. If anybody says anything disrespectful, I'm not responding. So don't even waste your time saying anything disrespectful, saying anything crazy, because I'm not gonna reply to you. I'm not even gonna acknowledge it. I'm gonna just scroll right past it and go to the next person. But yeah, just giving a heads up because I'll have people who don't even follow me, aren't even subscribed to my channel, but somehow my lives will pop up on their feed. And they'll come in and they'll say the most disrespectful, crazy stuff. And I just feel like people like that are miserable. Like you're trying to, I'm a complete stranger. I haven't done anything to you. But here you are coming on my live when you don't even follow me, you don't even know who I am. Coming on my taking time out of your day to come on my live and say something disrespectful or crazy. Like people that do that, whether they realize it or not, you're miserable with yourself and you're trying to transfer that energy to me, but it ain't gonna work. Anytime I be seeing people say crazy stuff, I just ignore it. Of course, I read it, like I see it sometimes, but I don't acknowledge it because I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I'm not giving you my energy. So you might as well just scroll off because you're wasting your energy. And the thing is, I'm not here for that. Like, I'm a sweet person. Like, I'm just here to encourage people, inspire people, and teach people the little bit of wisdom that I have, the wisdom God has given me. So yeah, I don't deserve that. So if you say anything disrespectful in the chat, I'm not going to reply. I'm not going to acknowledge it. Like, so don't even waste your time. But if you say hi or if you say something interesting that pertains to the message, then, I'll probably end up responding. I'm trying to get better at that, y'all, because like I said, I get distracted easily and I don't want to get sidetracked from the message. But the reason why God dislikes when we judge others, number one, is because we're not perfect. We all have our flaws. We all make our mistakes. We all sin. No human is perfect, except maybe little innocent babies that can't even talk yet or walk yet. Then yeah, they're perfect. But as far as like people that actually have a consciousness, I mean, babies have a consciousness, but they're not really aware of what's going on around them. Like they can't even talk yet. But aside from, babies, innocent little humans that don't know anything yet, none of us are perfect. The rest of us are not perfect. And the older you get, the longer you live on earth, the more mistakes you're going to make. So that's the first reason why God doesn't like when we judge each other. And this isn't just me being like, oh, I feel like God doesn't like us judge. No, it's plenty of scriptures all throughout the Bible that talks about how much God dislikes when we judge each other. There's a scripture that says, with the same measure you judge others, God will judge you. And something that I've thought about recently, sometimes when you judge others, God doesn't necessarily judge you, but He'll put you in the position, He'll put you in the exact same position of the person you judged in order to humble you and understand where they were coming from. And that's happened to me so many times. And I'm gonna give a few examples. I ain't gonna give y'all too much of my business because I feel like I give y'all a lot. I feel like I share a lot of my business on here. Um, and believe it or not, outside of this, I'm a really private person. Like in real life, I be keeping to myself. I'm an introvert. If I'm going through something, I just keep that between me and God. Um, but yeah, like outside of me sharing the things I share on here, I'm a private person. Like I like to keep things to myself. I'm not online putting my business all out there, even when it comes to people in my life. I could be going through something crazy, and my closest people won't even know. Maybe until further on down the line, after I've got past it and overcome it, then I might share some things. But for the most part, I'll be just keeping stuff between me and God. But the reason why I share so much on here is because it's really only because I know that it can help somebody. That's the only reason I be putting my business out there is because I know the different experiences I've had and mistakes I've made and all the different lessons I've learned. I know that they can help somebody. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't tell y'all nothing. But like I said, God has humbled me a lot. Anytime I'm judging somebody, a lot of times I'll end up in the same position of the person I judged. And I'll give some examples. Oh, let me go back. Another reason why God dislikes when we judge each other is because when you are judging somebody, like I said, God is the only judge. So when we are judging somebody, we are putting ourselves in the position of being superior to that person, having authority over that person. And we don't because we're not God. So when you do that, you're judging somebody, you're subconsciously viewing yourself as superior to them. And when you do that, that is a form of playing God. Because again, only God can judge us. Only God can judge me. Only God can judge you. God is the only judge. Like, as humans that are not perfect and make our mistakes, we don't have a right to judge each other. Now, again, saying that someone or something is wrong when it comes to a certain situation, like, say somebody cheated on their partner, you say that was wrong. Like, that wasn't right. You shouldn't have did that. That's not judging. But when it gets to a point where you're like, oh, you're a dog, you're this, you're that, like you're calling that person out their name, you're demonizing that person, that's when it becomes judgment. Because here's the thing, we all make our mistakes. And just because somebody makes a mistake doesn't mean that's who they are. Just because somebody cheated once doesn't mean they're always going to cheat. That doesn't mean they're a cheater. And even if somebody does have that pattern or that habit, yes, they're wrong. But guess what? They could change one day. They could grow and evolve and become a better person. And you don't know. You don't know what that person's destiny is. You don't know what that person's journey is. You don't know the plans that God has for that person's life. I've seen people do some crazy 180s. I've seen people have crazy transformations where they were one person during this period in their life, and in this second chapter of their life, they're a completely different person. They're a way better person. But yeah, I'm gonna give a few examples of me judging people and how God put me in the same position of the people that I was judging. Number one, when I was a kid, I had a close family member that had an abortion. And when I found out she had an abortion, I was demonizing her. I'm like, I can't believe that she killed her baby. That's not right. Like, I can't believe she did that. She's evil. In my little kid brain, like, I'm just like, oh, she murdered a baby. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe her. Like, how could she? And guess what happened? Years later, when I become an adult, I was 19 years old, and I find out I'm pregnant by a guy I only had intercourse with twice. Swear to God, I only had intercourse with this guy twice. And I actually got pregnant the first time we had intercourse. Cause by the second time we had intercourse, like right after that, I found out I was pregnant. So I'm like, okay, I had to get pregnant that first time we did it. And he wasn't a good dude. He was not a good dude. I knew that if I went ahead and went through with the pregnancy, he was gonna be a deadbeat dad. I was just gonna be doing everything by myself. And I was, like I said, I was only 19. This was, I'm 33. Dang, so this was 14 years ago. But I was only 19. I was broke as a joke. I could barely take care of myself. So that, on top of the fact that the guy would have been a deadbeat, I didn't want to bring a child into that environment and upbringing. Because I knew everything that I went through in my childhood. I'm the oldest of three. My mom had me when she was 15. She had three kids by the age of 25. She was a single mom doing everything by herself. Um, so I didn't want that for my child. Like, I already lived through that. And I didn't want to bring my child into an environment that was anywhere similar to that. So I made the decision to have an abortion. And in that moment, like the days leading up to me getting an abortion, I was just sitting and thinking to myself, like, man, it's crazy how when I was a kid, I was judging that family member and demonizing that family member and thinking that that family member was evil. And here I am in a similar position as them. And I feel humbled. I feel humbled because now I understand why they made the decision they made. That person already had a few kids that they were struggling to take care of. So, me being an adult and me being in a similar situation, now I get it. Now I understand. It was actually very considerate of her to have that abortion because if she would have went through with the pregnancy, her her kids that she already had, especially the oldest, they would have suffered because she was already struggling to take care of them. So if she would have brought another child into the equation, first of all, the oldest would have had to take on even more than they were already taking on. But also, that would have stretched her money even further than it was already being stretched. So the kids probably would have went without even more things that they already were going without. So, like I said, that humbled me. Um, Another situation that I had, when I was 22, so this was a little over a decade ago, I had an affair with a married man. And prior to, me having an affair with a married man, when I would hear stories about women being mistresses and side chicks and all this other stuff, I would be like, "Oh, she's a home wrecker. I would never have an affair with a married man. Like, oh my gosh, she's this, she's like," I would go in on women that, were in an affair and it was always the woman. I was always demonizing the woman in the equation. When it came to the man, I'm like, oh, a man is just being a man. Like, but when it came to the woman, like anytime I would hear a story like that, I would automatically be like, yeah, she's evil. She's evil. Like she a side chick, a mistress or whatever. She's evil. Like I would never do anything like that. Guess what? I did. I did end up doing exactly what I said I would never do. Oh, I'm too good to do that. I would never do that. And mind you, I'm not an evil person. Even back then, I wasn't an evil person. But guess what? I I don't want to say like it's a lot I can say, honestly. First of all, I have very low self esteem. I have very low self esteem. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even something that I seeked out. It wasn't like, oh, he's married and I'm going to try to mess with him or I'm going to try to. I wasn't even thinking about him. Like, I wasn't. Initially, me and that person, we were just friends. We worked together, we were cool at work. Like, we were just friends. I wasn't even attracted to him. But he he came on to me. Not in an obvious way, but it was very subtle. But me being young and naive. And he was about like 12 years older than me. But yeah, me being young and naive, I'm just thinking like, oh, like he's just friendly, like he's married, he's like he ain't thinking about me. And I gave him an inch and he took a mile. And the next thing I know, I'm in a full blown affair. And I'm like, and mind you, even back then, my relationship with God was nowhere near as close as it is now. But back then, I did believe in God. Like, I've always believed in God. And back then, I would consider myself a spiritual person. So once I got in that situation, I was like, how did I get here? How did I get here? Like, I cannot, like, I felt sick to my stomach. Like, the few months that it was going on, like, it was like I constantly my head would hurt. It would feel like my head was spinning, and I would feel sick to my stomach because I'm like, how did I end up here? Like, I cannot believe that I became one of those women. I always said I would never do this. I always looked down on women that were in situations like this. And here I am. And thankfully, I cut it off. I was the one to end it. I was the one to cut it off because The whole time it was going on, I felt guilty. I felt bad. And but I just didn't know how to walk away. I didn't know how to pull away. And that humbled me. That made me realize like, damn, like it's it's not some don't get me wrong, there are some women that like seek out married men, but sometimes uh, first of all, men be lying. Sometimes men be lying. So that's number one. But number two, just how it happened with me. It's like you're friends with a guy and you give him an inch, he takes a mile, and the next thing you know, y'all in a full blown affair. And that humbled me. And that made me now, here's the thing. I'ma still say it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm still gonna say it's wrong. If you're married and you have an affair, whether you're the person that's married or the side piece, it's wrong. Me saying that that is wrong is not me being judgmental. But me being judgmental is when I have a strong negative opinion about the person. Because that's the thing. I don't know if it's a scripture or a saying, but it's either a saying or a scripture that says, hate the sin, but love the sinner. You can hate the sin. You can hate their actions and hate what they did. But don't be so quick to demonize the person. If anything, pray for that person. Pray for that person to change. Pray for that person to find God and start doing the right thing. You can hate a person's actions and you can say that they were wrong for something they did. But don't 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 I'm trying to think of what I know what I want to say, but I'm trying to think of how to word it. Don't judge a person off a mistake they made. Like it's I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but unless you are the exact same person you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, in most cases you're probably not. You're probably a completely different person than you were 15 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, maybe even 5 months ago. So we're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing, we're constantly growing, especially when you're in your youth. You make a lot of mistakes in your teens and 20s. That's when you make a lot of mistakes. Not saying you don't make mistakes after that, but I would say those are probably the years where you make the most mistakes and you do the most foolish things, right? But just because you were a certain person in your 20s or you made certain mistakes in your 20s, that doesn't mean that's who you are forever. That doesn't mean that determines your whole entire life. People change. People grow. And that's why you got to give people grace. You got to give people grace because I'm sure you've made mistakes where you needed grace. Even if it wasn't from another human, I'm sure you needed grace from God. Another time I judged somebody and God humbled me was my little sister. She got a cat and she couldn't afford to get him fixed. And because she couldn't afford to get him fixed, this nigga was wilding out. He was wilding out. He was, anytime they would open the door, he was trying to run out the door to find a female cat to, hunch, to mate with. He was running out the house trying to find a female cat to mate with because he wasn't fixed. So his little cat hormones were going crazy. Um, he was randomly peeing around the house because these are all like problems you'll have with a cat when you don't get them fixed. And I think it's the same for dogs too. But yeah, she was having all these different problems with him. And I'm like, girl, you need to get him fixed. And she was like, I can't afford to get him fixed. Da, da, da. And I'm like, well, if you can't afford to get him fixed, then you shouldn't have even got him. Like, you're not ready for a cat. If you can't even afford to get him fixed, you shouldn't have got him in the first place. You weren't ready to get a cat. And I was lecturing her and coming down hard on her. And guess what? Shortly after, I got a cat. And 2 years after I got my cat, I ended up surrendering him to an animal shelter because I was having an ongoing issue with him, and I took him to the vet, and I spent all this money to try to figure out what was wrong with him, and did all these different things, bought different things, research and stuff, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with him. And it was just too overwhelming. It was just too much for me because I was dealing, it was going on for a long period of time. So I ended up surrendering him to a, I was about to say a homeless shelter. I ended up surrendering him to an animal shelter. And in that moment, I was thinking, like, dang, I came down so hard on my sister. I was judging her and be like, you weren't ready to get a cat. You shouldn't have got him if you can't even afford it. Judging her and coming down hard on her. And look at me. I'm 10 years older than her. And I wasn't even ready for a cat. I wasn't prepared for everything that could possibly come with having a pet, cat or dog, having any pet. And that humbled me. That humbled me because I'm like, damn, I'm over here telling her, like, you shouldn't have got him, you weren't ready, da, da, da. And like, yeah, I can financially afford my cat. Like, I can take care of him financially. I can afford to get him fixed, afford his food, and different things like that. But I couldn't handle the everything that came with having a cat. And the issue that he had, every cat doesn't necessarily have that same issue. But when you own a pet, it's not like, oh, okay, I have this cute little pet and they're gonna be perfect. And as soon as they do something wrong, I'm gonna give them back. It's like, no, when you decide to have a pet, you have to be committed. You whatever problems they have, whatever they need, you have to be willing to get that for them and do that for them. You have to be willing to, in my opinion, like, you shouldn't get a pet unless you're willing to take on whatever comes with the pet. Even if you got to spend thousands of dollars on vet bills or surgery or whatever, you gotta be willing to, you have to be willing to take that on. And if you're not, you shouldn't get a pet. And that's what I realized about myself. Like, damn, I wasn't ready either. Another thing that I used to judge people on, when I would see women in abusive, toxic relationships, I would look at her like, "Ugh, she's weak. She's weak. I would never let a man hit me. I would never let a man talk to me like that. I would never let a man, what you think I ended up doing? I ended up letting a man do all the things I said I would never let a man do. I ended up being with a man for almost 4 years who was very abusive, very manipulative, constantly calling me a bitch, constantly calling me a Jezebel, like constantly disrespecting me, constantly manipulating me, gaslighting me. The physical abuse, that didn't come to the end. And once he put his hands on me that first time, I was like, I'm done, I'm out. But the verbal abuse and mental abuse, emotional abuse, all that, that went on pretty much all of the relationship. And when I was in that relationship, once I finally got out of that relationship, after he like shook me and choked me, and I was like, I'm done. Now you playing with my life. So now I have to leave, like, cause I already see where this is headed. After that, that's when I realized, damn, now I understand how women end up in abusive relationships. Mind you, prior to him, I've always been very sassy, very, and when I say sassy, not like I'm in a man's face arguing with him, trying to fight him or anything, but I've always been the type of woman like you ain't gonna talk to me anyway. Like, it's not like I constantly was dating guys that disrespected me or called me out my name. Like, I had never been with a man like that. Anytime if a man get even a little bit buck with me, I'm gonna be like, who you talking to? That's how I've always been. Like, I've always had that little spiciness to me. Like, I've never been afraid to check a man. But here I was, as strong as I was. Here I was in this relationship where I was allowing this man to talk to me in a way that I've never let any other man talk to me. I was allowing it, and it's not like he would be. calling me out my name or disrespecting me or in my face, and I would be in his face back calling him names. No, I became a shell of myself. I would like go into a shell when he would be yelling and calling me out my name and just cussing me out. And instead of me like getting in his face and going off on him too or like defending myself, I would just sit there like I would just sit there like scared. Like I would be so quiet. I would be scared to say anything. And that's not like me. Even my best friend, like we were talking about it after like we broke up, and she was like, I just can't believe that you were in a relationship like that because you're not like that. Like you will check a nigga. Like that's what she said. Excuse my language, but she was like, you will check a nigga. Like, so I can't believe that you allowed him to do everything he did and treat you how he did. And like I can't believe that you even stayed with him after he called you the B word. Like, and I'm like, girl, I can't believe it either. Because, like I said, I always used to look at other women as weak. If a woman was in an abusive relationship, that's her fault. Oh, well, you just weak. I never let a man do that to me. But once I was in it, that's when I was humbled. Because I'm like, now I understand how this happens. It's so subtle. And people that, men that are 9 times out of 10, if a man is abusive, he probably if I don't want to say I don't want to diagnose people like he's a narcissist, but if a man has a lot of narcissistic traits, let's just say that if a man has a lot of narcissistic traits, 9 times out of 10 he's also going to be abusive. And those type of men are very persuasive, very manipulative, very good at coercing you into things, very good at sweet talking you. Like they know how to choose their victims. So yeah. After I was in that relationship, that humbled me and made me never judge a woman again. Like now when I see a woman in an abusive relationship, if anything, I just feel sad and I just pray that she breaks free. I pray that she has the courage to walk away. But I never look at a woman and be like, I can't believe you letting this man da da da, you're weak. Like, no, no. And here's the thing, if you're really a believer, if you really believe in God, you shouldn't be here to judge anyway. You should be here to love. I'm not here to judge, I'm here to love. That's how we should all be. Cuz like I said, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. Just because you haven't made the same mistakes as somebody else doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you're better than that person. Cuz you might have made mistakes they haven't made. So you're not superior or inferior to anybody, and nobody is superior or inferior to you. We're all just humans trying to find our way. And it's like we should give each other grace and be more gentle with each other and be more understanding of each other. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're, it's understandable if you're judgmental. I don't want to say judgmental. It's understanding if you're judging somebody because they did something to cause harm to another person. Let's say somebody rapes somebody, or somebody murdered somebody, or somebody did something to a child. Like those are extreme cases where I can understand why you would judge them. I can understand. But even so, I think it's best to just say that person was wrong. It's best to just say that person was wrong. Let me take a sip of water because I'm losing my voice. even as even in those extreme cases, I think it's best to just say that was wrong, or that's sad, or that's unfortunate. Because at the end of the day, you have to leave judgment to God. God is going to judge that person. They're going to have to answer to God for whatever heinous things they did in life. And like I said, you can say that that person was wrong. You can even say, like, that was evil. You can say what they did was evil. But beyond that, you don't have to have a strong opinion about everything. You don't have to have, especially, and the thing is, people be having strong opinions about strangers, about people online, about celebrities. It's like, why do you have a strong opinion when whatever that person got going on in their life, that don't got nothing to do with you? Like, and that's what I've had to learn. You don't have to have a strong opinion about everything. You don't have to have an opinion about everything. Like, you don't have to have an opinion at all. And that's what I've been practicing. Whenever I come across certain stuff or I hear certain stuff, instead of me, because this is something I've recently been noticing about myself. It's like I'll be quick to go into judgment. When I hear something or I see something, I'll be quick in my mind to go into judgment. But lately, what I've been practicing is not having an opinion at all. Just observing something, and at the most, I might just say, that was wrong or that's unfortunate. But anything past that, I try not to really have a strong opinion about things because at the end of the day, I gotta worry about myself and the mistakes and the choices and things I'm doing in life. Like, I gotta worry about what I'm doing. I gotta make sure I'm doing the right thing. And another thing that I don't like is when, and I've done it too, and God has humbled me. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of other examples I can give, but like I said, I'm not gonna tell you all my business. But another thing that I don't like is when somebody judges somebody else for making a choice that they don't agree with. Let's say somebody says, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. Like, I just want to live my life. I don't want to have to worry about it. And then you'll have somebody that's like, oh, well, what are you going to do when you get old? Like, that's selfish to not have kids, blah, blah, blah. Like, what does that person not having kids have to do with you? If you want to have kids, go have some kids. But why are you judging somebody else for making a different life decision or a life choice? Just like everybody is not gonna happiness is not a one size fits all. What makes you happy isn't going to necessarily make somebody else happy. Or let's say if somebody's like, I don't want to be with somebody that has kids. Like, I ain't dating somebody that got kids. That's fine. You don't have to, but if somebody else decides that they want to be open minded, then that's their business. Because a lot of times people, they won't just say, oh, I don't want to be with somebody that has kids. They'll say, if you tell them you're dating somebody that has kids, they'll be like, oh, you dating somebody that got kids? You don't got kids. Why don't you do that? It's like, what does that have to do with you? Really? How does me dating somebody with kids negatively affect your life? If you don't want that for yourself, that's fine. But don't come over here telling me what to do. And again, as I'm preaching this to y'all, I'm preaching this to myself too, because God has been humbling me in a lot of ways. And now I'm to a point where I'm like, I'm afraid to judge anybody. I'm afraid to judge anybody. I'm afraid to have an opinion about stuff. Like, prayers to everybody involved. Hopefully they change. Hopefully they do the right thing. But other than that, like, I don't really, I'm not God. It's not my place to judge. I need to be worried about myself and making sure I'm doing the right thing. But as far as how other people want to live their lives or whatever other mistakes people make, that's like, that's not for me to judge. It's not my place to say anything about that. So yeah, I know I be getting a little fiery. I know I be getting a little hi, I'm subscribed to you. Oh, thank you so much, German Shepherd Lover One. Thank you, German Shepherd Lover One. But yeah, I'm losing my voice now, and now I remember it in Russian. Russia. Oh, somebody from Russia's in the chat. Hi. What's your name? Ooh, I don't even know how to pronounce that name, but hi. But yeah, if this message helped you, if it spoke to you in some way, please make sure you like it, make sure you're subscribed. And yeah, my voice is giving out. It always happens towards the end of these lives. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I love you. I'll see you guys.